Oh, Stream Beats, you're killing me this morning. You're just killing me. Not Stream Beats, but it's not Stream Beats. It's Spotify's killing me because I thought it was playing different music, and I was actually playing music that's like copyrighted. So I'm probably going to get like copyright strikes on the beginning of my video here, which ridiculous. Anyway, usually I have copyright free music that plays on breaks and in the beginning and in the end. But for whatever reason, I was listening to a different Spotify music channel, if you will, and it just said, "Oh, you were listening to this." I hate that it like tries to be seamless between all your devices. I'd like to keep them separate so that it only, like if I'm playing a Spotify channel on my computer, which is the one I use for streaming, I don't want it to pick up what I listen to when I'm doing my personal stuff. I just want it to stay where it is, but it likes to, oh, it's seamless and you can move from device to device and it'll pick up where it left off. I don't want that. So hopefully there's a device that actually, or there's a setting that does. I need to go in and dig into that, because what happens is YouTube is very sensitive to using copyrighted music in your videos, and they will put a digital rights management strike against you, a copyright strike against you, or any revenue sharing or whatever. So basically I have to go in and cut that section out of the video, or cancel the audio for that section of the video so that there's no audio, so that I can't get a strike against me. It's kind of a pain to have to go back and do that. Anyway, it is what it is. It already happened. So normally I have like I said, I normally have a Stream Beats, which is a music producer, and they produce copyright-free music for you to use in your streams and in your videos and other such things. It's really nice because they get money because people listen to it on Spotify, so they get Spotify money from it, and I get free music that won't get a copyright strike against me. So it's a really nice kind of thing to have, but it only works if you're actually using it and not using copyrighted music like The Police, which was playing when I went up, and I wouldn't have known it if my audio wasn't on. So anyhow, welcome to a very chilly morning in my wood shop. I mean, it's not super chilly in here. It's like 58 in the shop and a little cold. I've got my sweatshirt on this morning, but it is definitely a cold morning outside. It's 41. There was frost on my car this morning when I walked outside and looked. This morning there was frost. So yeah, we're in November and it's chilly. It is definitely chilly. And I just dumped my dust collector bin, and I'm gonna sneeze. So hang on a second. Sorry about that. I figured I would mute myself so you wouldn't have to at least hear me sneezing. And I'll probably sneeze again because, like I said, I just dumped it. I've got my dust collector down there blowing, but it doesn't always catch everything. And when you're standing over dumping the bucket, you get dust coming up. So I got a little up the nose and little much. Anyhow, I digress. How's everybody doing this morning? I'm doing quite well. It's what is today? Wednesday, and today is episode 90. Can't believe I've done 90 of these things, which is weird. Like in 10 episodes, that'll be episode 100. And if you think about the amount of time I spend doing this, I average about 2.5 hours per live stream. I mean, that is 250 hours of live streaming. And what do I have to show for it? You know, it's kind of sad. I won't say it's sad. We'll call it interesting. It's kind of interesting. As I was setting up this morning, I was pulling up all the different platforms that I stream to, and yeah, I get those set up on my computer here so that I can see your chats and stuff. But when I pulled up Twitch, so when you go into Twitch, which is a live streaming platform, you mostly for people who do gaming and stuff, but for other things as well. And when I pulled up my Twitch, it usually gives a carousel sampler of different live streams going on, and I just thought it was really interesting. So on my live stream feed this morning, the little carousel were kind of like wildlife or animal related live streams. And I mean, I love it when one or two people come in and hang out and chat and watch what I'm doing and stuff. And I think that's really cool, just why I do it. I mean, I'm not in this for huge numbers and for, making money on streaming and anything. That's not why I do this. But I do have to say, there was one live stream that was basically a camera staring at a beehive, like a honeycomb type thing. It was, I don't know, they had a hidden camera set up at a honeycomb. There were 4,000 people watching that stream. 4,000 people watching bees. I don't know. I go to the next one. There's chickens. There's like 150 people watching the chickens. It's just kind of funny to me that people are watching these things, and I struggle to get like a couple of people in, and the bees have 4,000 watchers. I don't know. I find that curious. I won't say it's sad, but it's definitely interesting what people are watching in their live streams. And what people like to see. Maybe just people like to start their day watching the bees. I don't know. It just not my cup of tea or my cup of coffee, as the case may be. Which I do have my snowbird mug out this morning because, like I said, it was a little chilly out here in the shop when I came out this morning. And unfortunately, I stepped out here a little late in the morning, and I was like, oh, it's really cold. I turned my heater on, but it really was not. It was so late into the morning that the little bit of time I turned the heater on till the time I started streaming, it really wasn't going to make that much of a difference. Now, it's not that much colder than it has been. I mean, it's been in the mid 60s in the shop, so we're only 7 degrees away from that. So it's not horrible. I did get all of my finishing done yesterday. I got the last of my lacquer sprayed, and that was really what was important to me because I did have it warm enough in the shop that I could spray the lacquer. I really don't spray lacquer under like 60. I don't like to spray under 65 degrees. The lacquer just doesn't flow and set up as nicely when it gets cold. So 65 to 85 degrees is that window that I like to use for spraying lacquer. I prefer it like 70 to 75 is my sweet spot. That's where I really get the best performance. But I can still spray in the mid 60s. And I knew it was going to be cold. I mean, it's going to be highs in the 50s the remainder of this week. So I knew it was going to be cold, and my shop is not heated or climate controlled at all. And so I really wanted to get the rest of that stuff finished because I knew that I wouldn't have the opportunity, or it would take me a long time to heat the shop in order to be able to do that. And I like to be able to raise the door up to vent out the fumes, because spraying lacquer is smelly. I mean, there's no way around it. It's a smelly process. And I do wear a full face mask when I'm spraying, but it lingers. So typically I'll raise my door up a little bit and have my fan blowing out, and that's enough to keep the fumes going out. But you can't do that when it's colder outside because your temperature drops. And so I was fortunate. I got my stuff done yesterday, and that means I can now take all the stuff that I finished recently and take it down into my studio. I have a studio, a little studio in my basement, a photo studio, and I will start photographing all of those pieces to get them listed, which is good because I think I have, well, I have 10 items to, I think I have 10 items to list. I have 11 items that were being sold, but one of them was a project that I did for a friend who she's paying me, but it's not being listed on Facebook or Etsy. And but all the others are. And so I need to go and get those photographed, give them their beauty shots, and then get them listed so that I can sell them. I've got about, I want to say if I've got 10, that's probably about $1,100 or so worth of money sitting there waiting for me to let loose. And it's that time of year where, ooh, holiday buying, people want to buy things for their, ooh, what should I get them? Well, I really want one of those nice bases that he made. Okay, see, I'm trying to make things easy for the spouses. Whatever. But anyway, it is holiday time, and things do sell around holiday time. And that is a fact. So I need to get those listed and get that money done. I really want to. I need to start saving up. I'm doing my research, and the more I'm looking into things, the more I'm looking at getting that laser engraver that I talked about the other day. And I know that's kind of a weird thing, but I think it's just going to add a big dimensionality to my shop that I can do some other stuff and add some other products, and will really help me expand on what I'm doing and enhance what I'm doing. So, because things like when I do the engraving on the front for the Singer logos and things like that, do I need to do that with the CNC? Or could I do that on a laser on specific species of wood where it really looks good and save myself a lot of time? Because you set it up and you walk away, you don't leave your laser while it's cutting and burning, but it takes a lot less time and it's a lot easier setup than doing it on the CNC. The CNC is a lot more work to make those engravings. And every time I engrave things like that on the CNC, I'm just a little bit nervous, just because things can get messed up. And if you break a bit or something in the middle of a cut and then your wood is ruined, and that almost never happens with the laser. So anyway, I'm really looking at adding the laser to the shop. It means I need to make some money, right? And so that's what that's my goal. That's probably the next tool I will add to the shop. I know I said I want to replace my bandsaw and I want to replace my table saw. Both of those upgrades, I believe, will require me to upgrade my power, which means that's a whole lot more complicated, because that means I have to go to the other side of my house, which is way over that way behind you, and a floor down. It's in my basement. That's where my box is. And what I need to do is put a breakout panel in my garage, which basically it's a secondary panel. So you run the electricity all the way across the house, up through the wall, and create a new panel out here in the garage. And then from that, I can run external, I can't remember what you call it. But anyway, conduit around the perimeter of the house to put additional outlets in. I can put 220 outlets in and things like that. That's expensive in itself. That whole process, I mean, just copper wire. I was looking the other day. I went on, I don't know, Home Depot or whatever, just to look, and just, I think 50 feet of 3-wire copper Romex, which Romex is the wire you use for most typical housing wiring. It's like 12 gauge, and it has 3 wires. It's a cable, so it has, instead of a wire is a single, if you have multiple wires together wrapped in a sheath, that's a cable. So the cable, the Romex cable, for 50 feet is like 250 bucks. Copper is expensive these days. So that's not probably an option at the moment, because I'm going to have to really do some serious budgeting and looking at doing something like that, because I need more than 50 feet, I can tell you that. So I probably need a good 100 feet of Romex, because not only do I want to run a breakout box in here, but then I want to put fuses in that breakout box, that breakout panel, and then run multiple outlets in my shop, so I can have more than one circuit that I'm running things off of. And I would like to have some 220, because 220 is, or I'd say 220 is 240. I'd like to some 240 outlets, because if I want to upgrade my table, I don't want to upgrade to a 110. If I'm going to do that, I think this is a 1.5 horse. I can't remember what horsepower this is. It's either a 1.5 or 1 3/4 horsepower. I want to upgrade to a 3-horse motor on the table saw and on the bandsaw. I mean, if I'm going to upgrade them, I want to upgrade the whole thing, not just the size, but also the power, because why not? I mean, if you're going to do it once and do it right. So that's kind of what I'm looking at there. But the third tool I want to add is the laser engraver. I can do that without adding any power. I can add an additional outlet downstairs in my basement for just running that. And that's easy, because that's just in the same area. So a lot easier for me to run an outlet down in my basement than it is to do a breakout panel up here in my garage. So that's something I'm thinking about. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm looking at, like I said, enhancing my shop with a new tool, which means I need to sell some stuff and make some money. So anyway, the other day, let me just jump back to where we were the other day. I was fixing a thing, and I'm not going to get into that. I screwed up my little bass there a little bit. I'm sad. I'm not going to talk about it. But it was, you know what, if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. But what I did do the other day was I worked with this, which is a box joint jig. And I set that up because I haven't used it in a long time. And I'm thinking, for my next set of basses, instead of doing my typical rabbet joints for the corners, maybe I want to try a box joint, because I've got this great jig. I haven't used it in a while. And so I needed to get myself oriented with setting it up and using that. And I had a little bit of a rough time. It was really, the sizing and stuff wasn't right. And I kind of ran out of time at the end of the stream. But I did figure out the micro adjustment, and we figured out how to make the box joints. So look at that. There you go. There is, they call them finger joints or box joints, but it's really super nice. All right. And I'm thinking of doing this for some of the basses that I'm going to be working on. If you read the title, if you saw the title for today's stream, I'm bringing a zebra into my shop. Well, the zebra's already here. It's zebra wood. And zebra wood is really super expensive. So I don't know how that would look with box joints. I'm probably going to do my traditional joinery on there, because I don't want to take a chance on it looking stupid. I want it to look nice and elegant, and these are going to be very expensive bases when they're done, because it's an exotic wood and it's very expensive. And I don't want to screw it up. So that's okay. But I do have some other wood, like some sapele and some walnut and such, and I might just do these joints on there. One thing I want to look at is the size of the fingers. These are from, if you measure across, these spaces right here, right there, are, those are 1/2 inch. So I've got a 1/2 inch dado blade in my table, and that is cutting these 1/2 inch fingers or box joints. And I'm thinking that this piece of wood is about the width that I want to use. So this is 3 inches. That's my standard width for doing basses. And I'm thinking that I need more fingers. What do you think? I think instead of like 1/2 inch, maybe if I do like 3/8 of an inch, that might look good. I don't know. What do you think? Thinner? I think thinner is more elegant looking, maybe, perhaps. I think the thicker the finger joints are, the more industrial the box looks, I want to say. I want to say industrial, but kind of looks more like an Apple box kind of thing than it does, you know, maybe a really nice sewing machine base kind of thing. So I think the thinner they are, the better it'll look. That's just my thoughts. So if you have any thoughts on that, share, please. I'm happy to have you share your thoughts on that. But I can always set this up with a thinner blade set. I have a lot of options. That's the nice thing about having when you have a dado stack, which this is my Freud Super Dado set. When you have that, I mean, it gives you, so I'll show you right here. So it gives you a ton of thickness settings based on, the amount of chipper blades and cutting blades and such that you have and spacers that you can choose all the way from, I think on this one, 29/32 of an inch, so almost an inch thick, all the way down to 1/4 of an inch. So I could choose a different size, like I could choose like maybe 5/16 or 3/8. They've even got 11/32. So you can choose a bunch of different things. I'm kind of trying to figure out where I want to go with this. I'm thinking maybe 3/8. And if I did 3/8, I want to grab my ruler here and just kind of look and see. So I'm going to make some 3/8 marks on this wood here. And I just want to see how many fingers, because it's hard to say how many fingers that's going to give you. 1, 2, 3. And then I mean, obviously I know how many it's going to give me total on here because I can just, 1, 2, 3. But I want to see in terms of teeth, like if I did this way and this way and this way. See, that gives me an even number of teeth across. So I'll show you this. You can see my little drawing there. That's 3/8, like little 3/8 teeth across there. That gives me more of them. So I would have 1, 2, 3, 4 on each instead of 3. So this has 3. So if you see 1, 2, 3, that's 4. But I want to have, I'd like to have an odd number, but maybe I can't have an odd number because of the width. So if I take the width of my board down by 3/8 of an inch, then I would have an odd number. So if I remove 3/8 of an inch off of this board, then I could have that odd number where I would have like 3 in the middle and 4 on the outside, just to kind of make it balanced. I don't know. It's like, I think, so it would be like that. I know that looks stupid, right? So maybe I'll do that. And I think it's because I've got that even number that no matter what I've got, obviously, if I choose something that divides evenly into that width, I'm always going to get an even number. But I would like one of these to be an odd number. So I think maybe if I take 3/8 of an inch off, which should still give me plenty of clearance on the bottom of my machines, that I could do that. So they would be a little bit shorter, but they would still be functional and usable. And I like that idea. So anyway, that's just something for me to ponder moving forward. But this, I was very happy. I found my micro adjustment. They were really tight, and this is still tight. I would probably, I mean, it's too tight for a joint because you need to have some, I mean, if I put them together, they go, but you really need, you need spacing for glue, because these are getting glued together, and right now there would be no space in here for glue, and that would not create a strong joint. The nice thing is the fingers themselves create a really, really good joint, the glue bonds that joint together and just makes it a super, super strong box or base, whatever you want to call it. But you need to have room for glue, otherwise you're kind of not gonna have a lot. So I need to play with the micro adjustment, make it a little bit looser. It should just kind of easily fit together, not have to squeeze together. And that will allow enough space for glue to go in there. And then when it's dry, it'll create a super stable joint. And it won't be loose after the glue dries, obviously. But you always need to leave yourself just a whisper of room in there for glue thickness. But anyhow, today though, I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and break down this table saw blade and put the old blade back in. We'll set this aside for right now. That was a good experiment. I'm glad I got a chance to try this out because I haven't used it in a long time. I mean, I bought it a while ago thinking, oh, I'm just going to do everything with box joints, and then I didn't use it. But now I'm thinking I want to use it. And so it was nice to be able to pull that out and fire it up and do some cuts and kind of refamiliarize myself with the tool. It's not the easiest tool in the world to use. Once you get it set up, it's fantastic, and it is really easy to use once it's set up. You just have to set it up. So I'm going to unplug my machine here, and I'm going to go ahead and take this out. So that thing I was looking for, if you were here the other day, this little silver knob on the side here is a micro adjuster. So every little tick that I move this thing is like 1/1000th of an inch. So I can make it looser or tighter of a fit by changing or rotating this piece right here. So I'm going to set this back into my little storage space here where I keep it. And then we can change this blade, get rid of the dado stack for the time being. And in my particular table instance here, this is pretty easy. Just going to pull this all the way up. I'm going to get my wrench, keep on the side here. And my saw has a button right here. If I push that button in and rotate, it locks the blade, which is really nice, because that allows me to put the wrench on here. Some tables actually have 2 notches where you have to use 2 wrenches to loosen it. This one just has a notch here which locks the blade in place, which is really nice. And then I can just get lots of leverage on here, loosen that nut, and then remove that. And then remember, the most important thing is don't drop the nut, because then you have to go fish it out, and that's not easy. All right, so that is that. Let me get my my box here where the dado set lives. And I got this, like I said, I got this on Craigslist from some guy, and it's been fantastic. I've gotten good use out of this dado set. They can be a little pricey depending on which dado set you purchase. This one was not too bad. Because like I said, I got it used and the guy didn't really use it that much. All right, so I've got these little 1/8 inch spacer chippers in here. The nice thing is they've got these little plastic things that kind of keep them separated from each other. So I'm just gonna, oh wait, I use the small ones. It's got little small plastic things. So I'll put the small one behind here. And then we put that in here. And I've got one more chipper in there, because this took 2 1/8 inch chippers and then the 2 outer blades to make my 1/2 inch. So there's the other chipper. And that's what the chipper looks like. It doesn't go all the way around. Just basically, this is a 4-wing chipper and removes stock on the inside of the cut. All right, now I can take my interior or my exterior blades, which are full blades going around, and we will just put one of these on here, drop it in, and then we'll get the other one off of here. Someone told me the other day that the reason they can't use dado stacks in other countries like Great Britain or maybe the EU is that their arbor arms are too short to safely use a dado stack. So I don't know if that's the case. If that's the case, let me know if you know what that is. I'm gonna put my instructions back in here. We'll close this up, and there is the dado set all done. I do have a wider plate, so it does allow for that dado stack to be used. I'm going to take my Ridge Carbide blade. This is the best upgrade I ever made to my table, is this Ridge Carbide. At some point in time, I'm going to have to send it back in. But even on here, it actually says, for factory sharpening, return to Ridge Carbide tool, and it gives you the address. And so you can just send your blade back in, and they will resharpen it. I mean, for a fee, probably, but that's okay. So I will gently put this back in its place, put the outer washer back on there, and then we will reinstall the nut without dropping it. I said, hardest part of the whole thing is not dropping that nut down inside there. I'm going to lock it, and then I will tighten this down. Okay, and then the last thing I need to do is reinstall my riving knife. So this riving knife, it just kind of pushes out here. It's like you have to push it out. There it goes, and it slides in and locks in place. And then the little arm comes in and makes sure that it's locked in nice and tight. The riving knife runs right about to the height of the saw blade. So if I take anything flat and put it on that riving knife, it basically is the same height as that blade. It rides just behind the blade and basically keeps wood from squeezing back in, catching on here and throwing into your face and killing you. That's the theory. All right, so I've got the blade back in. We're all set. I've got a, this is, for this particular table saw, this is a Delta table saw, and they have their own zero clearance blade, so it actually has a piece of material. I don't know what this is. It's a harder plastic kind of thing that is set inside here, so you raise the blade through it, and the zero clearance part is in the front of the blade. But it works okay. But it's hard to, it took me a while to find one of those though, because it's like $65 to find that plate. A lot of machines have them where you can actually create your own zero clearance plates, which is really nice. This did not have that, so I had to purchase one, and it's really a very complicated, I mean, I could make the top plate, that's no big deal, but all of this stuff underneath where it catches and holds down to the table makes them kind of unique. So not an easy thing to fabricate on my own. I'm going to take my dado stack and just set it down here for the time being. You know what I really need to do? I was just looking behind my table, is I need to make a new crosscut sled because mine's looking a little shabby. My coffee's getting cold. All right, I'm going to put my plate away, and then we can start, what the heck? Then we can start evaluating what we're going to do here from a project standpoint. And I'm going to bring up a piece of zebra wood here for you to look at. So this is zebra wood. The zebra wood is, I mean, that's just beautiful, right? It's really cool looking. I mean, you may not think so. I think it's beautiful wood. It's really unique looking. It's obviously, it's called zebra wood because of the striping that goes through it. And very unique to this species of wood. I've never worked with zebra wood. It's pretty heavy, which leads me to believe that it's pretty dense. I've had this stuff sitting in my shop for about a month now, maybe a little over a month. So it should be probably more than a month, maybe a couple of months now. It's very well acclimated to the shop, obviously. So the thing about zebra wood, it's very expensive. And the other thing is that these boards are not very wide. And let me turn my brightness down on my screen so that my battery doesn't die on the computer. I want to look something up here for this stuff. I'm just going to go get I'll use my phone, CP Johnson. So CP Johnson Lumber is where I buy most of my wood. And I'm going to go to their website. And I think they have pricing on here. Pricing does change depending on season and availability and other such lumber prices. Let's see here. So if I go down to, see if we can find the exotic stuff here. All right, so zebra wood, 4/4 zebra wood, which is what this is, 4/4, which means it's 1 inch in thickness, which, yep, 1 inch. So this is 1 inch thick. So $19 a board foot. Now, this board right here, just this board right here, we'll do some measuring. Well, let's just take this short board, right? Just to kind of give you an idea. So this board is 4 feet by 4 inches by 1 inch. So I'm going to take my little calculator here. I have a board foot calculator, which makes things really nice. So this is 4 feet by 4 inches by 4/4, and the price is $19 a board foot. This board right here, this little board, is 1.3 board feet, and it costs $25.33. This longer board, this was all one board, by the way. I had it cut down. Just made life easier. So this board is 7 feet long. So we had $25, and this one's 7 feet long. So this is $44. So $69 basically for this board. It was one board. I had it cut down, but $69 for this wood. So you can see it's a pretty big investment to do something like this, right? It's not inexpensive wood by any stretch of the imagination. Some of the wood I use is much less expensive. White oak. If I get regular flat sawn white oak, it's like $6.60 a board foot for that. If I get quarter sawn, they don't have any, but quarter sawn is much more expensive. Dang, they're out of that. If I get red oak boards, just flat sawn red oak boards, $3.90 a board foot. So there is cheaper wood out there that you can use. Sapele, quarter sawn sapele, $6.35. So not cheap, but certainly not super expensive. Let's see here. I'm looking for walnut. Let me see if I can find walnut in here. And they usually have a couple of different types of walnut as well. Unsteamed, let's see. So rustic walnut, which has knots and things like that in there, is pretty inexpensive. It's like $4.85 a board foot for 4/4. But if you want really nice stuff, so boards that are short, like between 4 to 6 feet long, that's $8.50. If you want longer boards, that's about, and you want wide boards, that's anywhere from $10 to $12 a board foot. So you can see walnut gets to be in that more expensive range. But this stuff is the most expensive wood I've ever used in terms of board foot price. But it's just so unique and just so cool that I really wanted to give it a try. Now, that being said, I want to be able to get the biggest yield out of these boards that I possibly can. And in order to do that, I had to figure out how much of this I can actually lose to waste and how much will actually be able to be, put into use for a base. I have a couple different base sizes that I can make out of it, but I want to make a full-size base. My best-selling base is the large base with the storage compartment on the side. By far my best-selling base. So my thought is, well, let me put this table blade down. So my thought is, you know what, if I can make one of those, if I can make two of those, that'd be great. If I can make one of those, that would be awesome. I do have a problem with that though. Let me grab one and I'll show you. I've got a finished one inside here. So let me grab one of these out of my kitchen. I just have them sitting in my kitchen. I just finished lacquering this yesterday, so it's inside curing. So here's the problem I have. So this is the full-size base. This is my best seller. You can see I do the little engraving on the front. It looks really pretty, right? This is a very pretty standard base. This part right here makes it super popular, which is the little side storage compartment, right? Here's my problem with making these things. I need a piece of wood. This is only 3 inches wide, but this is not. This is much wider, which means usually I have to cut this out prior to milling down the rest of the board. But here's the bigger problem in relation to the zebra wood. This is about 4.5 inches wide, and you can see it is wider than my zebra boards are. The zebra boards are 4 inches, about a 1/2 inch short, and that's before they get jointed and cleaned up, because this is a saw. This is the factory saw edge right here, not a straight edge that has not been cleaned up. If I take these down to 3-inch wide boards, right, I'll have a little bit of wood left on the side. So my thought was, well, how can I get this out of a board that's not wide enough? And I have some ideas. But this is what we're aiming for. So if I can get one of these out of this, that'll be a pretty expensive base. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna probably be about $150 for that zebra board, the zebra base. About $150. But super exotic. Is it going to sell right off the bat? Probably not, because obviously it's going to take the right person to buy it. But I think it'll look really cool. So what I did was I went ahead and made some calculations on here to see, first of all, do I have enough wood to make that long of a base? Because I need end pieces, I need 2 long pieces to be the front and the back, and I need 3 shorter boards on the ends. Well, I went ahead and measured it out, and I drew lines on here. So my long pieces are 21 inches. So there's 21 inches here and 21 inches here. So this to right here gives me, so from the front of this board right down here, whoop, there you go, all the way to right here is about 42-ish inches. I added 1/8 of an inch in for the kerf just to make sure. That leaves me all of this wood back here. So what could I get out of this wood back here? Well, here's the end pieces are 8 and, we'll just call them 8 5/8. It's actually not, it's like 8 1/8 inch. But I measured large just to give myself some room. So 1, 2, 3. So that is all of my boards, 1, 2, 3, plus the 2 long ones to make one of those bases. That notwithstanding the lid still needs to be addressed. So I was like, cool. Well, if I look at this board though, I do not have enough length in this board to get 2 more, because I needed to get those 3, basically 5 pieces of wood, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need this length, and this board, if I put it down at that end, comes up way short of this board. So that being said, I can make another base, same dimension as far as the machine it holds, just without the storage compartment. And that I can do because I need 4 pieces of wood. So here's 2, those are 16 1/4 inches or something like that. So here's those two boards at 16¼ inch. And then down here is another 8-inch piece. And I added an 8, I had enough to get another 8-inch or 8 1/8 or 8 5/8 or whatever it is, piece of wood down here. So basically I've got short board, and 2 long boards so I can make a standard base. That means the wood left over out of these 2 pieces, I've got a piece here that is 6 inches and a piece here that is 7.5. That is my waste out of that. Pretty good. Pretty good. Now, here's my idea. Let me run this by you and see what you think. So my idea is, in order to get a base, a lid for that base, for the larger one with the storage compartment, what I need to do is have pieces of wood that are, like I said, 7.5 inches long, because that's about how tall or lengthwise that base lid is, by like 4.5 inches wide. These boards are 4 inches wide. They're going to be less than 4 inches wide, but I'm going to lose a little strip of wood going down here. I'll probably have like 3/4 inch of wood left over on the edge when I trim these down to size. So my thought is take all those edge pieces and laminate them to get a board that is wide enough and obviously more than long enough to create a lid. So it'll be laminated pieces. And in order to not make the lamination look stupid, I don't want it to look stupid. I want it to look really kind of cool. So what I might do is laminate some thin strips of, like, say, walnut in between the zebra board pieces to kind of give a really cool effect on the lid. That's my thought. I don't know if it's going to work out, but that is kind of the direction I'm going. And I think that will actually work out. So before I do any of that, I need to get this stuff milled up because it is not in a condition for cutting into boards or anything yet. Like I said, the other thing I'm looking at is the joinery for these things. Like I said, I was planning on doing box joints, but I don't want to box joint this. I don't know if the way the grain looks and everything on here, I don't know if that's really going to accommodate a really good looking box joint anyway, as opposed to some of the others like the sapele and the walnut and such. I think will look just fine in terms of being box joints. But ooh, that got really dark. But I don't know that the zebra wood, I just don't know that that would look good as a box joint. So I'll probably do traditional joinery on these. But to get things going, what I'm going to have to do is start off by milling them. I think what I'll do is take them over to the jointer over here. It's really chilly in my shop. It's 58. It's not getting any warmer in here, I can tell you that. Which there's no reason for it to get warmer because I have no heater running in here. I could be running a heater in here right now. But you know, this shop is so, I won't say it's large because it's not large, but it does take a significant amount of time to get a heater going in here to warm things up. So I'm just gonna bite the bullet and go with it. I need to move this out further because I have a very long board that I need to run through here. This is not on a mobile base. I just pick it up and move it as needed. I kind of slide it around. It works. Let me readjust your camera angle here for you. There you go. There's your camera angle. I'm going to come over here and run these boards through. I'm going to start with the short one. And if you look at the grain, let's look at the grain on this for a minute. So if you look at the grain on here, get my pen. Maybe. There we go. So the grain on here is going downwards like this. So that's the direction. Hopefully you can see that. So I drew that. So the grain is kind of traveling in this downward direction. So as I push this across, I want to make sure that this downward direction is at the back end of the table. That will should give me my cleanest cut. So that's called cutting downhill. So I will start at this end, and I need a clean edge. These are actually wide enough. I don't even have to cut these widthwise. Wow, I can actually start planing these right now, or jointing them. I forgot, usually I have to cut my boards down so they're not as wide and they'll fit on my jointer. I can actually just start joining the face of these. And that's where I think I will begin, is jointing the face of this board. It looks like it's already been milled just a little bit, because so if you look here, you can see these are saw marks right here, but this is smoother wood. So it looks like these have been roughly thrown through a planer of some sort, because these are rough saw marks, and those rough saw marks end. So it looks like I think this thing has already been skip planed, which is nice, because that would mean I don't have as much work to do on them. So let me run this through and get one flat side here, because we're going to have to run them through the planer as well. But let me get one flat side, and we'll see what that looks like. Pretty good. Now, because this stuff has already been skip planed, it can be difficult for me to see how much wood I'm actually planing here, or jointing off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my pencil, and I'm just going to take the pencil and run it down like this. And that gives me an idea. As the pencil gets removed, I will see exactly where I'm taking wood off, because some of it's hard to tell if I'm taking wood off. I can see some jointer marks in here. Some of this looks a little rougher, but I just want to put the pencil marks on here, and you can sort of see those pencil marks on there. Hopefully you can see that. and we'll just take a look at it and see how that looks. I also don't know how this stuff is going to react in terms of chip out and stuff like that. Hopefully, it will not be difficult, but we shall see. I've never worked with it before, so this is all new to me. All right. The majority of my pencils, there's just a tiny bit of pencil mark left on here, just on a couple little edges, but that's okay. It's flat enough now for us to run it through the, we can run this through the planer. And then I have to clean off an edge. And unfortunately, no matter which way I turn this, my wood's going to be going the wrong direction. So let me see which one of these looks straighter, because I want to clean off the straighter edge. And also, if you have any bowing in the wood, so if the wood is bowed, you want the edges of the bow to be down on the table surface. You don't want it to be like this, because it'll rock on. You'll never get it flat. You'll remove way more wood than you need to. You want to have it this way, so you start taking those edges off, and then bring it down to the middle level. Never run it like a rocking horse or a rocking chair leg with that. You want the sad face, not the happy face. Sad face down on your table. That's what we'll call it. And I think that's this one. Yeah. All right. We're going to clean up an edge here. I don't need these. And then we will move on to the bigger board. And the thing is, just make sure I have that jointed face against the fence here, because we want a nice 90-degree edge on here. Nothing. So just going to show you real quick. You can see I'm eating away at the end here. This is nice and smooth right here, but then it gets to be rough wood. All of this is a high spot when it's on the table until we get down to this side where now I'm starting to clean off on this end. The thing is, you don't want to get too aggressive and like say, oh, well, if I raise my head up, I can take more wood off and make this go faster. Problem is you risk really severe chip out and things like that. So just take your time. It's just a process. You just have to kind of let it do its thing. Take a little bit off on each end. Trust me, it'll work its way down to the point where it'll even out before you know it. Now we have one very straight long edge here. You can see that's very straight, nice and smooth all along through the top here. That feels really good. So we've got one flat side here, one square to that flat side here, and I'm going to make my little marks like I always do. So I'm going to make a little pigtail over here, and then my little arrowhead on this side, just to let me know that this is the flat side and this is the square side. And that took a while. That was a little bit more bowed than I was hoping for. This one probably be just as much of a pain in the rear, but I mean, that's kind of what you get. This one's going to be a little bit longer process too. Let me see which side I want to clean off here. I think I'm going to run it through this way. But it's a really long board, so hopefully I've got enough space here. I might need to move. Yeah, I need to move my table out. So I'm going to clean out my dust bin on the table and then move it forward a little bit because I need the room. This is a really long board. It's much longer than I'm normally dealing with, but I do need to clean the dust bin out. All right, we've got the dust bin cleaned out, and I need to slide this whole thing forward about a foot in order to clear some space in the back. Like I said, I don't normally use boards this long, so just need a little space here. And I actually might want to set up my little guide here. So I've got this. Let me zoom y'all out a little bit here. Whoop, that's in. Yeah, there you go. That's out. So what I'm doing is I'm going to set this roller guide up here, and I have to reset the size because it's set up for my joint or for my planer. But the whole point is that as these boards come off, they will hit the head here. It will support that long board as I'm pushing it off. Otherwise, it'll get tippy and it's hard for me to hold it flat while I'm jointing. I'm going to use the board we just used or just worked on to set the height because it's pretty flat. So I can get the table height here. So I'll loosen this, bring this down. Like I said, it just needs to ride over top of this as I'm feeding it out, and that will keep it. So as I bring this really long board, it'll just add support to this end down here because my table's not super long. And because I've got these long boards, this just gives me extra space down there to run that. All right. And I've got this board, and I don't know which way I want to run this through. The grain is kind of wavy on this one. And so I'm trying to see what the best side to put down is. Once again, it's been skip planed. Let me look and see if it's cupped at all. A little bit I'm going to run it through this way because it's got a little bit of a cup to it. Not much, just a little bit. But better safe than sorry. This is really long. So the hard part I'm going to have here, oh man, it's not far enough. The hard part I'm going to have is running this through that should be, hang on a second. Let me get this lined up here. That should be enough space to get this. Enough? There we go. It's tight, but I can get it through here. I've got plenty of space out the front. It's just getting it through the back here. All right, well, let me make a couple passes here and see what we got. Okay, that was actually pretty flat. I'm impressed with this board being as flat as it was. Um, it's pretty good. I still have a little, just a tiny bit here in the back, but for the most part, this is flat. And remember, really what we're after here is we need one flat side to put down in the thickness planer, because the thickness planer is going to make a parallel flat cut on the top. So if you are not perfectly flat on the bottom, any undulations or whatever, that'll be reflected in your top and you won't get nice flat parallel sides. So you have to start with a flat side. So we've got that now. Now I need a flat edge. Let me look down here and see if any of these are bowed or cupped like the last one. And they're kind of not super straight. This one might be a little better. Just trying to find the better face. I think this might be the better edge right here. Same thing, we're just going to run this through. And let me make sure, okay, that lines up with my support. That support was key because it really allowed me to keep the face flat on here. The other thing you want to try to avoid doing as you're running your boards through, if your board has any bit of a cup to it, you don't want to press, as you're going over your blade, if you've got a really long board, if you're pressing, you're flexing the board into that cut. So it'll take the rough wood off, but once you take the pressure off, it's going to flex back up. So I try not to push right in the middle of the blade. I try to go in front of the blade and pull the wood across the cutter heads without putting pressure directly over top of it. It seems to give me a little bit flatter cut. That's just the way I do it. Your mileage may vary. Okay, just checking comments here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this edge down here. We'll see how rough it is. It may not clean exactly everything because it does have some rough sections right here, but I just want one part of it. I just need one edge to be clean coming all the way down. And that will be enough. Ooh, look, Black Friday deals at Harbor Freight. Ugh, Black Friday deals. Tell you what, let me clean off this dust stuff too, because running a flat surface on a board takes a lot of shavings. I don't run my jointer with active dust collection on because it just really is ineffective. So I usually clean out the dust port afterwards. I mean, I know that's probably not the best way, but it's the best way I found to make it work in my shop. Okay, so we've got most of this cleaned off. There's still a couple of little spots on here. Right here, there's some saw marks on the edge, but I have a flat jointed side. There's a little low spot here, but it's jointed up here. And so basically that flat jointed area runs the entire length of the board, which means when I push this through a saw, I'll have a reference edge that will still be good. I can cut a little off of one side, then come back and clean up this side as well. But I did want to get one flat reference edge running all the way down. So we have a flat side and a square side. So I'm going to mark those like we did last time. Let me just do my little pigtail and then my little arrow here. And that means that we now have all of that jointing done on there. And so now I've got the jointing done, I can move over to the to the planer and get these, excuse me, dust, get these down to thickness. That board is really long. Speaking of Harbor Freight, I just mentioned a minute ago, this roller stand that I've got right here was this is a Harbor Freight deal. Some things from Harbor Freight, pretty reasonable. I think this was like 35, 40 bucks. If you get it when they have one of their sales, you can probably get it for less. I mean, it does exactly what it needs to do. It just basically supports wood coming off the end of my machines, off my tools. And because I'm like right now running such a long board, I really need that support to ensure that I'm getting no tipping coming off of the end, because it's the one thing you don't want. You don't want your boards tipping as they're coming off your machine, because then it's not contacting the blade, the cutting surface. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'll put it back on the wide cam here. I'm going to go ahead and bring out my planer, and I've got some stuff sitting on it. So, you know, that's the problem with a small shop. You tend to use any flat surface as a storage, and that's what I do. Wherever I have a flat surface, I store things on it and I move it around as needed. All right, I'm going to bring this out. This will be challenging because I have that really long board, and I have to have space behind that really long board in order to allow for it to be fed through. Let me clean up the dust on the ground left over from the joiner right here. All right, I probably need to move my vacuum back a little bit. This roller stand will need to be adjusted, and I will do that in a moment. But I'm going to get this set up in a way that I can feed that board through. And let me see how much room I need behind. Sorry about the shaky. Can I get this into the table? That's the question. Ooh, just barely, maybe? Okay, so I need to move forward just a little bit, and I'll be able to get this through. So just about like right here. I'm also going to reset the height of my, so this should be enough. There we go. So I can get the board through. And I need to reset my roller, my little roller stand, so that it is going to support this board coming off, because this is a very long board and it definitely is going to need some support. So that hopefully right there will do the job. And really I've just got, excuse me, I've got this setting on the infeed and outfeed tables of the planer, so you can see that. So it's resting flat on there, and then I measure, so the force coming off of here, so it will just continue roll. I know you can't see that, but it's rolling over top. You can see it on here. You see it here? Yeah, so you can see the roller stand right here. So as this board comes off, it'll hit that roller and then just provide support coming all the way through the cut, and it'll still be a little, probably should move it back a little bit. About like that, so that I can catch this thing coming off. But that should provide me with the support I need right there. I will need to bring the dust collection over here. This dust collection, definitely a needed thing on the planer, because otherwise it'll just throw chips across the room. That is not a good thing, because it has a side dust port right here. Back to the other camera. So there's a side dust port, so you definitely want to make sure that you've got your dust collection hooked up. Otherwise, you will have a royal mess. Now I'm going to slide through here. I don't have a lot of room. Very tight quarters. But I think, if I move this over a little bit, I think we should be in good shape. Set this up like this. I think that will work. And then we're going to have to lower this thing down quite a bit because it's in the up position when I store it. We're going to bring it down. Way, way, way down. Way far down. Pretty excited about this zebra wood though. Pretty excited about this stuff. It looks really cool. There are some weird kind of open poreness to some of the grain, which I will have to address in some way, shape, or form, possibly with some epoxy or some, I've got some, okay, that's a little noisy. I've got some black CA glue that I can use. Yeah, that's about the extent right there. And let's see if that's gonna, that might be where I start. Maybe right there. Here. Not showing any rise there. This. Okay. I'm gonna back it off a little bit. We'll run it through. I'm gonna start with the longboard because might as well. I mean, you know, it's gonna be the hardest one to do. So I'm gonna start with that one. We'll get plugged in here. And I'm gonna have to get my hearing protection. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and make a pass here and we'll see what we can get. I am gonna need, actually I do need to get a, my set of calipers out here because we want to keep an eye on the thickness. And I've actually got both boards, so I'm going to run both boards. I don't know why I said I'll run one at a time. I'm going to run both boards because I want to keep them uniform thickness. So as we run through, we'll just keep, we'll run one, we'll run the other, and we'll just trade off until they're both at 3/4 of an inch. All right. Well, you can't see my face in the camera, which, you know, is not a bad, I could squat down and do that. But is that really necessary? I don't think so. Here, I'll raise this up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Is that crooked? Kind of looks crooked to me. There we go. Now you can see the messy back half of my shop. You can sort of see me in there. And we're going to run this through. I'm going to turn on the dust collection. Okay, just wanted to get a little bit of cleanup done there. So what I did was I took these down to basically, excuse me, 0.755, so 5/1000th of an inch off, which allows me just a tiny bit for sanding and such, so that's pretty good. The one thing I will say is when you're milling wood, you want to mill off of each side. Don't just mill off of one side, because even though these boards are pretty dry, I'm pretty sure this is not going to do much. If you do unequal removal of wood, as in you take it off of one side, not the other, what will happen is the board will bend and cup and do weird things because you've messed up the equilibrium of the wood. So you want to make sure that you're removing stock from each side, and that will give your boards the best chance of being flat when you come back to use them. I have to say that I really do love this plane that I got here. This is the DeWalt. I don't know what number this is. DeWalt something or other. The thing I like best about this is it has a lockdown clamp on here. So as I'll turn it this way so you can see, there's a handle right here. So as I set my depth, I do this, I push this down, it locks the head in place. And what that does is it keeps the head from pushing down or rising up as the board feeds through. It just keeps that head at a perfectly even spot. And it really does a fantastic job of minimizing any snipe that you get, which snipe is just one of those things that you fight with a planer, but this pretty much minimizes the snipe. The more I use this, the more impressed I am with it. I don't know why I just blew the dust there and I just blew it into my eye. Anyway, I need to put this all the way back up though, because I can't raise up this arm right here, this table, until it's up high enough, and then I can sort of get it high enough to get it out of the way. This one's fine. It doesn't impact anything, but so I always just raise this all the way back up. And the other thing I need to do when I raise it up is clean out the dust and debris from inside. And this just gives me a little bit more room to work inside here. I'll raise it all the way up like that. I'm going to push it this way. I'm going to get my hose and I'm just going to clean out the shavings and such that did not get extracted, and try to keep this as clean as possible inside here. Okay, that is that. And I can move this out of the way now, put it back over in this side of the room, and reclaim just a little bit of workspace. There we go. Okay, well that turned out successful. Yeah, this wood is really interesting. See if I can find a piece that has some of this going on, and I will try to take it over to the other camera and show you, because I find it to be kind of interesting. Huh. It's a degree warmer in here. It's 59 degrees. How awesome. It doesn't show up as much in here in this piece, but if you look, let me get my pencil here and see if we can spot these things. So inside, like in this area right here, these dark lines, some of these dark lines, these are actually open areas of, I guess they're grain, and they're kind of throughout here. It's really interesting. and see if I can get the light to shine off of it in a way that kind of makes it easier to see that. Not really. I can't really get it to reflect and shine on here, but just know that there is some open grainness, some very much open grain on some of these. There's some on this side as well. This area right here, very open right through here. So my thought is, I'll have to see when I'm finishing this stuff, but I've got some black CA glue. It's like a medium thick black CA glue that I can use to kind of fill any of those areas and make them more flat and flush to the surface. And I think that would, you know, when I get ready to finish these things, to remove those open areas probably would look better. And it's because they're black already, using that black CA glue is really a nice fit for that. Let me get this out of the way. The nice thing about this roller stand is it just kind of folds up, and I just kind of tuck it out of the way so the little legs kind of, they open like this when you're using it, and you just fold it away, and I just stick it over in the side over here and keep it out of my way while I'm working. This goes over here. All right, one other thing I need to do, just kind of doing a little housekeeping right now. I need to take this router bit out of the table. This is my large rabbiting bit, and I want to put that away so it doesn't get damaged. Not that it would, but this allows me to put my flat plate back on the table here, and then I can use it more as a table instead of a router table. I like to do that as well. All right, get that, and I've got the other bearings. Remember, this thing had multiple bearings, if you remember that, if you were here. It has multiple bearings to change the size of the rabbit. But for now, we're just going to stick it into my storage. I've got a bit storage, little foam rubber thing with lots of different holes in it for storing different shank-sized bits. And then we will lower this table down and put the flat surface on here instead of this one right here. We'll put the flat one on, and then that just kind of keeps a nice, neat surface that I can use and keeps dust from falling down inside there and everything else. And we'll lock that in. There we go. All right. So I've got my little surface all set back there. All right, so the next thing on these boards is we can rip them to width, or I can cut them to length. I've got my choice as to which one I want to do first. I will say that probably I will cut them to length first before I rip them to width, because they're really long and they're difficult to work with. Like, I can't feed that one board on my table. I mean, I don't have the outfeed table length on my table saw here. I mean, I could feed them off, but then it runs into like, oh look, there's my coffee cup, and no. But there's stuff on my table over here. So all this stuff over in this area over here, it gets in the way because here's the table saw way down here. So it all just kind of gets in the way. What time is it here? About 1 o'clock. I apologize for the milling video today, but it's a necessary part of what I do, and I actually enjoy the milling process. Weird that way, but I do like kind of like getting rid of that rough exterior wood and looking at the really pretty wood underneath. And that's really a lot of what the milling is you're getting rid of that rough sawn areas on the outside, and you're really revealing the beautiful wood that lies underneath. And you're getting it down to, obviously, to usable thicknesses. But I think I'm going to probably take these over to the miter saw and cut down some lengths of them just to make it more manageable on the table saw So I would use the miter saw first and then come back to the table saw. Now, I tell you what, I need to take a quick break. Let me run inside real quick and do something. I'll be right back, and then we'll hop over to the miter saw and make a couple of cuts here and see what we come up with. I'll be right back. All right. Apologies for that, but when nature calls, sometimes you just have to answer the call. So let's see, I've got two boards over here, and if I remember correctly, what I was going to do was cut this one into, now this one's easy, I can do this one on the table saw. It's not going to require me to clean out a whole bunch of space here. So I don't have to cut this one down quite yet. But this one, probably I should, and I should start by squaring off one edge, because these are not square edges. I should square one edge, and then I can measure out 42 inches. How long is 42 inches on here? Yeah, 42 inches plus a kerf, so 42 1/8 inch. That allows me 21 inches plus a kerf width plus another 21 inches. And I have a little extra space, so I can actually take it a little longer than 42. So I think what I'm going to do first is find my squared edge, which is this side. That's the side that goes against the rip fence. Oh! So I want this face down, and I want this face against the fence, and then I will square this edge right here, and then cut a little longer than 42 inches off of here. So let me go over to my saw real quick and see if I can even manage this. This is really a very long board in my workflow here, and might have to move my saw a little bit here. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. And I've got, like I said, this is where it gets to be a problem, is getting the space in here to work. Yeah. So getting the space to work in here, keep it flat. I need to get this off of here. So I need this space right here. It's actually hitting that right there. It's not great, but you know, it's flat enough. That'll work. Okay, I need dust collection for sure, because my miter saw sucks at dust collecting, and I'd rather have a tiny bit than none at all. So I'm just going to clamp this down and maybe get in it. There we go. So I'm going to clamp this down, cut the edge off to get a square edge. And then I'll measure out my 42 inches on here. It's not quite long enough. There we go. Then we'll measure out the 42 inches, and that will give us what we need to have a length that is easier to cut on the table saw, or a couple of lengths. We got the power hooked up. I'm going to get my ears, and then let's trim off the edge and move forward with this. Do need to turn the dust collection on. It works better that way. Now I have a nice clean square edge. I'm going to grab my ruler and a pencil and a square, and we're going to mark off on here. Well, let me verify my lengths, just because, you know, it's why I have these things up on the wall, because I'm going to make the long box out of this. So I need 21 inches, an 1/8 inch kerf, another 21 inches, that's 42 inches, plus a little fudge room. Got to have a little fudge room in there. So we're going to go down here to 42. So I said 42 plus an 1/8 plus a little fudge. So I'm going to say, you know, I've got extra down here. I'm going to say 42 and a half. That gives me enough room. Now, I can't really do 42 and a half on here. Arg. I don't have the space. I would have to, well, you know what? I'll have to open my door. It's just how it is. I'm going to have to open my garage door to do this. And it's cold outside, baby. I didn't want to do that, but I need the space, and that's the problem with a small shop. You kind of have to take advantage. I know a lot of places will have their, like if you've got a small shop, they'll usually have their crosscut sled like over in the middle of the wall, right? And that probably would work if that's how my shop started out, but it didn't. I already had things in place and everything else. At some point in time, I need to build a cabinet set that goes all the way across, put my miter in there, still have room for my CNC machine at one end. And really what I need to do is come up with some way to offset my CNC machine so that it would not impact the countertop, maybe have it recessed, I don't know. I've got so many ideas in my head and none of them are viable right now, so it doesn't really matter. What does matter is I've got a door in my way, and in order to make this cut, I'm going to loosen this clamp, open this garage door, which, like I said, I didn't really want to do, but I kind of have to make sure there's nothing in the way of it getting in the closing here. I kind of smashed some stuff. I've got some stuff in the way here. Hang on a second. Stuff in the way. There we go. Just make sure everything's good. I never opened this door. Actually, it was unlocked. That was really good. I guess somebody could have come into my garage at some point in time if they wanted to. And this thing is going to hit my lights up here a little bit. It's going to get a little dark. Just need it to stay right there. Stay. All right. Let me move this. The hell was that? Oh, I think it pushed forward and smacked my lights or something. Okay. Anyway, very cold out there. I'm going to put this in here, make this cut, and then be able to close my damn door again because it's cold outside. Get this against the fence, get it locked down, make my cut, and then we're good. All right. It's chilly out there. I was thinking of riding my bike today, but it looks like it's windy, and I know it's cold. So I would really have to dress for that. All right, so I've got two shorter boards now. So this is easier for them to go down the table saw here. And I just need to clean some space on the table, my workbench table here, so that they will fit through and not interfere. Let me see, longboard. Oh yeah, we got plenty of space here. We're good. We're good. Okay. Plenty of space. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the table saw now to do some cuts. And that'll be really the last thing I do today, is just get these kind of cut down to some usable widths. And I'm just, like I said, I also want to explore using some of the offcuts from these widths for making the lid. So that's the other thing I'm going to look at, is how much offcut area I'm going to have. I should have enough to be able to, ooh, there's a router bit. That's not supposed to be there. I should have enough to be able to do this lid idea that I have, but we shall see. Let's come over to the table saw and set up my blade height here. So the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to clean up this edge, because I want this to be a usable, all the waste that comes off, I want it to be usable. So I already have a clean edge here, although this edge needs to be taken. Is this edge good? No, that's pretty clean. Any edge that's not fully clean here, I need to make sure that I leave enough to take that off, but that's good. So this is my side right here. So what I'm going to do is get this board just cleaned up. So I just want it to kiss through and clean off like a 1/16 of an inch off of the edge, which is going to be really messy, but it'll give me a nice clean edge to work with if I want to glue these strips together to make a lid. Okie dokie. Got my dust collection. I need to plug the saw in, would be probably helpful. And then once the saw's plugged in, we can be off to the races here. Let me get my, ooh, that's close. That's close. I'm going to get my other micro jig here, I think, because I don't want my hands in front of this while I'm doing it. So my gripper, this just gives me space to work outside of that. That thing needs to be out of the way. All right. Going to hit that. It is going to hit that. I want it to hit this. See if I can turn this so that it's not. So it's out of the way here. There we go. That'll do. I just need this out of the way. Okay. That clears space for me. I need to make sure that it's set to the right height. The thickness of this board, which it should be set to 3/4 of an inch anyway. It is. Okay. Once again, find my clean flat edge right here, and we'll make a first cut on this board. Okay. Now, you can see it's not I mean, some of it was a little thicker than the rest of it. Some of it was really thin. So we got it cleaned up pretty good though. So I've got a nice edge now. I'm just going to throw these in my waste bin and get splinters in my hand in the process, which is awesome. That's great. But now I've got a clean edge here and a clean edge here. And what I can do is see how much waste I'm going to get off of here. So I'm going to get about a 1/2 inch thick piece of wood off of here. That's good. I like that. Is this the 42-inch piece? I don't know. I don't have my ruler here. Let me see. 42. No, this is a different piece. I think this was the shorter of the two boards when we originally started milling. All right, same thing with this one. I'm going to identify this is my flat surface, and I'm looking for the, okay, there was the line I drew. So this is the flat side here. Yeah. So same thing, I'm going to mill this down. Now this one I can actually take off even less because this board was thicker. Let me see. Yep. All right. So I might have a little extra on this one. I do like using the gripper on here just because when I'm just doing these little bits, when you're cutting off of an edge instead of through the middle of the board, you throw a lot of stuff up, and I don't have an overarm dust collection. So this kind of just keeps that dust deflection from flying in my face, so it's really nice. Just like to let my saw come to a complete stop before doing anything. Just, I don't want to dig the blade into the side or anything. All right, that's really pretty clean. And then once again, this one being even wider will give me, this one gives me about 5/8 worth of material here to work with when I cut it off. I'm gonna mark my edge here again so that I can know where my flat side is. I milled off my marks here. Some of them, so I'm gonna, so I know when I go to cut these things down, which my flat sides are. All right, one last one here that needs a clean edge. And this one probably is set up already for the right spot. This one should have the mark on there. No? 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 Let's see, is it this way? Yeah. All right, let me draw another mark here so I know where that is. Okay. This one might be the same thickness. Let me just check it. Nope, this one's just a little thinner on this edge, so we're just gonna move the saw over. Like I said, I'm just trying to skim off wood and make it flat on the edge, not really remove a lot of stock. All right. I don't know if this one got all the way in there. I might have to go a little thinner. No, it's actually smooth all the way across, so that works out. Okay. Lots of sawdust here. Lots and lots of sawdust. What we got? 118. So now that I've got my edges here and I've got everything lined up and clean, what I can go ahead and do is take these down to my 3-inch wide strips, and that will give me my usable stock that I can cut to length. But then it also gives me these little strips on the side that I can put together and laminate and make a lid. Because remember, that's my other goal, is to have enough wood to do a lamination to make a lid. And these things are all the same thickness, so it should be a pretty good lamination. So what I'm going to do is set my fence to 3 inches, because that's my, maybe just a hair over, just for sanding thickness and such. And let me just check that just to be sure. Okay, so we are just about like a 30-second over, which is fine. And then I'm going to cut these strips out of here. Make sure I got space there. So I'm going to cut these strips out, and these strips are going to be the wood that I use for the lamination. At least that's what we're going for. And I don't have to reset this fence now. They're all going to get cut down the same size. They're all going to be this 3-inch size, so they all get the same ripping done here. Right. I love it when a plan comes together. Okay, I'm going to take all these boards and just stick them to the side there for a moment. These are my milled boards. These are 3 inches wide. So 3 inches, I've got 3 of these now to get all of the lengths out that I need for making the bases. So I just need to make the appropriate cuts on those. And let me look at these. Now, for making my lid, remember I said I want to make a lid, and my thought was to laminate these together. I can make them so that the orientation and the direction of the grain is going kind of in the same way. Some of these undulate, and this is why I was thinking, you know, if I had some pieces of darker wood, and I've got plenty of this, I can cut these and do lots of laminations. But my thought is I could take some different strips of wood. Here is a piece of walnut, right? I could put a piece of walnut in between and do something like that, and do like a couple of strips of walnut. I've got walnut, I've got lots of stuff. I've got cherry. So here's the cherry one. These are all about the same size too. So I could take strips of wood. I'm thinking the walnut looks really nice though. And laminate some walnut strips in between some of these other ones just to give it some character, some different appeal. The other thing I could do I have maple. I could run maple in between, right? So that you get something like this in between there. So I have that. That's my thought. I could do just a straight up lamination where you just take a bunch of these, cut them up, get 4.5 inches worth, glue them together and done. But I could also try something different where I get, you know, maybe some different effects where these things kind of look interesting. The other thing is this is a thinner piece. So I need to be this. It's thinner. There we go. I need to take care in how I do this, or if I'm going to make them all the same width and things like that. But anyway, that's my idea. I'm going to kind of play with that a little bit. I have lots of scrap wood that is 3/4 of an inch thick. I have oak and cherry. I have to look and see. I probably have some more walnut around here somewhere that I could use. And I think that'll work out. It'll look different. It's not going to be the same as it's not going to be the same as it is on the wood going around, but I don't know, it might look good. I might have enough to where I can do two. So maybe I'll do one straight up lamination going across with just the wood, because I think I have enough to do this. I have to figure out how much. I said, what did I say, 7 inches? This, just laminating these pieces right here together gives me 1.5 inches, which leaves me 1, 2, about 3 inches shy. So I would need 3 sections. Yeah, I think I've got enough. Because if they are, we'll just say 7.5 inches, so it's 15 inches. I should have plenty to be, I think I can do 2 of these. So maybe one, you know, experiment. Maybe I'll do one where it's just a straight up lamination. I think the straight up lamination might be the safer way to go. So I could do a straight up lamination on one, and then with the wood left over, maybe laminate in some different wood species and mix it up and see how that works. And then, you know what? I'll throw it out there. Maybe I'll make 2 lids and they can have 2 lids. How about that? That'd be kind of cool, because I'm really not going to be able to do anything else with this amount of leftover scrap from the zebra wood. But my thought is, you know, I want to get value out of this wood. I didn't want to have a lot of leftover. And I think what we're looking at here is really best case scenario, that by adding a second lid, so they have 2 to choose from, that will give me a little more value to add to it, which means I can charge a little bit more. So 2 lids, whatever your choice would be, I think that, I like it. That's what we're going to do. We are going to do that, and yeah, that's definitely what we're going to do. The other thing I need to do with this wood is, because I've never used it, is I need to just do some searching on different processes people use to finish this, because I'm not sure what people use in terms of either. I don't think you want to stain this, because obviously you want to see the beauty of all that grain, right? But are they using like an oil finish? Are they using like an Odie's oil? Which I've never used Odie's oil, but it gets really nice results. So maybe I'll have to get some Odie's oil and try that. There's Osmo, so you could do like an Osmo finish to it. And Osmo is like an oil finish, but like a hard wax. So there's 2 different ones. You do the Osmo thin, and then you do the thicker stuff, which is like a hard coat thing. It's a little bit more of a sheen, some buffing and such involved with that. So there's different ways of finishing natural woods, and I want to see what maybe the most common methods are for zebra wood, because I've never used it and I've never I've never had an opportunity to finish it. So that should be interesting. And like I said, some of this grain in here is really thick, and I got to see, like I said, I'm thinking of filling this stuff, and that would take a really long time to fill these because they are, Now, the other thing I could probably do is put some CA on there, wipe it off, put the CA on and squeegee it off, just so it kind of fills in and clogs up the deepest parts of the pores. The other thing I could do is do a grain filler. I've got a clear grain filler that I could use, and that might be something that I use. I might actually use my clear grain filler, and that would create a more even flat surface and keep things from soaking in. But anyway, lots to explore on that. So that's why I wanted to move to this. Even though I'm making the same thing, it's using this wood is a completely different process because it's totally different experience than what I'm used to with cherry and oak and walnut. The sapele is nice too. I've got some sapele. I've done sapele bases, so I know what to expect from that. But this is different, and I think this is kind of special. And that's why, even though I'm not making like 8 boxes right now, maybe tomorrow I'll mill up some other stuff while you're not watching and get some other boxes in production, just so I can have larger batches. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I forgot to say, I sold my my knockdown table for the featherweight. I originally had it listed on Facebook because I really wanted it to be a local pickup. I didn't want to have to ship it because for whoever buys it, it's really expensive to ship. Shipping, if you haven't shipped anything lately, shipping, very expensive, just saying. So shipping was expensive. I knew that was going to be the case. Plus there's a lot in tax and things like that. And I had to pay more fees and other such things. So I was really wanting to sell it locally or a local pickup. And the other thing is I wanted to be able to show somebody, hey, this is the table. This is how it goes together. This is how it comes apart. You need to watch out for this part and this part so that you don't damage it. And, if you're in person, it's easy to do, right? I got no bites local, and that was kind of disappointing to me. And I was like, well, I really hate to do it, but I'm going to throw it up on my Etsy page because stuff just sells on my Etsy page. It does. Like I said, there's payment fees that people that have to be paid. There's taxes, there's shipping, there's all this stuff that goes into selling on Etsy. And even though Etsy's take of what I make is not huge, it's still all cuts into the bottom line, right? So I have to raise my prices a little bit to put it on there to kind of make up for that. So anyway, I like to sell local when I can, or sell my bases on Facebook when I can, and they're easy to ship. But that being said, I couldn't move the table. I moved it to Facebook, or I moved it to Etsy. It sold in less than a week. So then I was like, okay, well now I've got 2 problems. One, I can't demonstrate how this thing works and how it goes together, how it comes apart, what you need to be careful with. And the other is, I don't have a box to put it in, and I don't have, I have to ship this thing. So yesterday I went out to U-Haul. By the way, U-Haul, lots and lots of packing materials, different size boxes, lots of different types of foam. And I got this really thin, it's like a thin bubble foam. It's like 3/16 thick. It's what you would put between plates when you're stacking them in to pack them. It's really nice, but it was 12 inches wide and 40 feet long. So I can cut pieces of that and put it between the boards to keep those nice and safe. And I got a box, they call it a lamp box, which is 12 inches by 12 inches by 40 inches, which is the perfect size I needed for shipping this thing. So I'm gonna pack that up today and get it wrapped up and bundled. And I also made a video for the people who bought it, basically showing them what the components are, how it goes together, how to be careful not to break pieces off the table, because there are a couple pieces where if they do something wrong, they could snap them off. So I wanted to show the whole process of setting it up, taking it down. So I made a video that I'll share with them. It's not on my public channel. It's there, but unless you have the link, you can't watch it. So anyway, I made that, and I'm going to share that with them. And yeah, so I sold the table. So that was kind of cool in less than a week. Like I said, I really didn't want to sell it and have to ship it, but it turned out that I have to anyway. So so I'm going to work on that, getting it packaged up. I'm going to be photographing all of the bases that I made, get those listed. I'll list them in both. I'm just going to go, usually I give it Facebook a week, and then I'll go to Etsy, but I'm going to list them in both places. If somebody wants off of Facebook, that's awesome, but I know everything sells on Etsy. My Etsy shop just booms when I have bases in there. So I'm going to list it on there because that way I can just get all this money coming in, not leave it sitting on a shelf in my basement. So I've got all that to do on my off time. Plus, like I said, I've got some other wood I think I want to mill up and make some additional bases. And like I said, because I want to do some box joints and things like that. So lots to do, but I'm very excited about this zebra wood. I think this stuff looks amazing. I mean, come on. Can you see this wood? Look at this wood. I mean, seriously, look at this wood. This is just amazing, right? So, but they have other woods and stuff there. They've got Wingay and all this other stuff, Purple Heart and everything. But I thought that was just, that stuff has the most character to me. It's also the highest price point too. So we'll see if I can recoup my investment of $75 that I paid for this one board. And I can sell one base and get 75 bucks out of it. But I have to pay myself, right? I have to pay for materials. So we'll see. Very excited though. All right, today, let's see, episode 90. We're going to wrap it up here. I will be back on Friday, so I hope you come back and join me. And we will start putting this bad boy together. We'll also, I might play with the laminations on here and see what we can get for doing the laminations. And that maybe we can look at those and experiment with some different things for the lids when we come back on Friday, okay? So until then, have a wonderful rest of your week. Enjoy your hump day and stay safe. What did somebody said? Hug each other more. And I think that's good advice. Hug each other more. Everybody needs a good hug out there. And then come back and visit me on Friday because I'll be here and I hope you will be too. So take care.